fight against ISIS in Iraq and Syria continues. The question remains whether to take out the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. That has become a major policy difference among the Republican candidates. Governor Huckabee, you said the Middle East was more stable when Bashar al-Assad was fully in control of Syria. The Russian President Vladimir Putin wants to keep him in power. As President of the United States, would you join with Putin to do the same thing?
Well, I want to be real clear. I don't trust Putin. I don't trust Assad. I'm not saying that I would endorse him for his re-election bid. The man is a tyrant. He's killed lots of people, but he wasn't killing Americans. And the thing that I'm concerned about is that we have seen a complete destabilization, not only of Syria, but we've seen it in Yemen, that the president pronounced in great shape just before it collapsed, destabilization of Libya, destabilization of Iraq and Afghanistan. It seems like wherever we try to pick a side under this administration, we always pick the wrong one. We picked the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. So all I'm saying is, let's be careful to understand who it is that is our direct, immediate threat. Do I think that we can hug Putin and have a wonderful relationship with the Russians and go off into the sunset like the end of Casablanca? No, I don't. But let me tell you what I think we ought to be doing. We ought to be challenging not only Russia, but the Iranians and the Saudis on the point of energy. We ought to be drilling every bit of oil, getting all the coal out. We need to be going after our natural gas and biofuels and become the energy exporter to the world and take the weaponry out of the hands of the Russians, the Iranians, and the Saudis by taking their money away and let America become the #1 energy exporter to the entire world. That enriches Americans and it destabilizes our enemies overseas.
Senator Graham.
It is absolutely imperative that Bashar Assad go. The biggest mistake Obama made was drawing a red line. Assad crossed it. He is still standing. If I'm president, Assad will not stand. He's murdered 240,000 of his own people. They're not going to accept him as their leader. The war never ends if he stays in power. You're giving Damascus to the Iranians. He's a puppet of the Ayatollah, a proxy of Iran. He is the biggest benefactor of Hezbollah. Weapons flowing from Damascus to Lebanon will continue to flow if Assad stays. For our interest in the stability of the region, he must go, and if I'm president, he will go, and the Syrians will pick their leader, not the Ayatollah.
Governor Huckabee.
Well, the only thing I disagree with is that I still believe that if you take away their ability to fund their weaponry and to fund their terrorism, they don't have terrorism. I still say we need to take an offensive approach by using our energy, the one weapon we have. We have hundreds of years of energy under our feet. The president thinks that climate change is the #1 enemy. I think people bombing us is a bigger enemy than the temperature change over several hundred years. So let's get our energy. Let's use that as an offensive weapon to change the dynamics of the entire globe and especially change the dynamics of the Middle East.
Well, I'm going to get to the others in a moment, but you're once again shaking your head, Senator Graham.
Well, I agree with that. I'd like to I'd like to stop sending $350 billion overseas to buy oil from people who hate our guts, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you like to export natural gas to cut Putin's legs out from under him? I'm not afraid of a guy riding around on a horse without his shirt. The guy's got a pair of twos, and we got a full house, and he's walking all over Obama. Mike, the surge worked. It worked. George W. Bush made mistakes, but he did adjust. I blame Obama for ISIL, not Bush. I'm tired of beating on Bush. I miss George W. Bush. I wish you were president right now. We wouldn't be in this mess. I'm tired of dictators walking all over us. I'm tired of siding with the Iranians and the Russians.
Thank you, Governor Pataki.
Lindsey's looking back and defending President Bush, but I want to look forward. This is about the next president of the United States. And you mentioned Libya and you mentioned Russia. And what they have in common, the disaster they have in common, is Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember in Libya where it was Hillary Clinton who went and tried to convince and ultimately did convince Obama that the United States had to go in for humanitarian reasons to protect people from the dictator at the time, Gaddafi? What has happened? We led from behind. We have chaos. We have ISIS controlling a major city. We have had hundreds of thousands of refugees. That's Hillary's policy in Libya. And then Putin, the reset button. You remember who that was? That was Secretary of State Hillary Clinton pressing the reset button. We can be friends with Russia. Russia is not our friend. They are friends with the Iranians. They are friends with Assad. They are friends with Hezbollah. We have got to stand up with them, and we have got to hold Hillary accountable for her failed time as Secretary of State.
Senator.